One way for one person isn't the best way for another person.
A college degree is not a guarantee that you will get a job.
Be professional with Dr. Burst and Dr. Ellison. From the janitor to the C-suite, prophetic mission.
Hi, professionals. I am Dr. Burks, your HR expert, and I am here with Dr. Ellison, our COO of Be Professional Consultancy. Professionals, people are not trying to go to school anymore. Hear me. They are choosing to forego going to a higher education institute and are instead, they are choosing to pursue more of a blue-collar profession that has become more profitable than a lot of degrees. What do you think, Dr. Ellison?
I can definitely agree with you. And this is definitely a hot topic because many Americans are earning over six figures without a college degree. And this is something that we have talked about before. And we definitely encourage you to watch some of our other videos because recent college graduates are struggling to find entry level jobs. And what if we also told you that while government reports are continuing to show job growth, there are millions of Americans that feel like the economy is moving in the opposite direction. And that is literally something that we just talked about in the last video because something doesn't seem right. The math is not mathing. And we are going to talk about exactly what is happening in the labor market. We're going to look at the rise of these six-figure jobs that don't require traditional degrees. We are once again going to talk to you about artificial intelligence. We're going to talk to you about layoffs. We're also going to talk to you about apprenticeship programs, which we have also done here before. And we're going to talk to you about Job Corps, what happened to it, which we do encourage you to go back into our archives. We do have a special dedicated video specifically to Job Corps. And most importantly, we are going to give you some practical actions that you can actually put into implementation today. So we are not just telling you what we think, we are telling you what we know. It is not our goal here to push politics on you. We are here to help you make wise decisions because the times that we are living in are definitely uncertain. And what drove Dr. Burks and I to want to talk about this is that most recently, when we were doing some of our research, which we always do, we came across this article written by Amanda Breen. And I just wanted to pull that up for you really briefly. And this article recently highlighted a growing trend. So if you take a look at this article here, it is entitled, Americans Are Skipping College for No Degree Jobs That Pay More Than $100,000 a year. And yes, you heard me right. Americans are skipping out on college and they are getting to the bag, you guys. They are increasingly questioning whether college is the only path to success. Now, before I dig a little bit deeper into this article, Dr. Burks, what do you think?
I agree, Dr. Ellison. There are people who are choosing to leave fields that they obtained a degree for to pursue non-professional careers and are making more money. So the times have caused people to do some strange things to make more change, but it's necessary because, like we've said before, you got to pivot. Things are evolving and you have to do something different. I'm ready, Dr. Ellison.
Yes, this article, I really like how the author is pointing out about inflation, which we just talked about. And of course, we didn't mention this, I don't think in the last video, but it is affecting tuition costs, which have skyrocketed, which is affecting whether or not people enroll in school. And at the same time, the undergraduate enrollment has declined significantly. And why is that? That's because people are doing the math. They are seeing that people are going to school. And just like we said at the top, that people are going to school, they're getting these college degrees, and then they graduate and they cannot get a job. And Dr. Burks and I have talked about this before, that a college degree is not a guarantee that you will get a job. And if you are going to seek higher education, if you are learning things for the sheer purpose of getting a job, we would tell you that it's not that you don't need education. It's not that you don't need a degree. We would argue that you are going to school for the wrong reasons. What do you think about that before we push on, Dr. Burks?
It is true. I have nothing to disagree. Let me preface it. I'm agreeing with everything she said up front because the gems that we are about to drop, per usual, people are legitimately having to step outside of their norm, but also be strategic in what they choose to do in their professional path, knowing that they have to do something different for themselves. And if I could interject for a second, Dr. Ellison, before we get started. So as you all know that Dr. Ellison is a veteran. And so I have had the pleasure of having a conversation with a professional who is also a veteran who has chosen to pursue a cognate or a field that does not require a college degree. So as a segue into our conversation, my question was, what are your thoughts on Americans choosing to pursue careers that pay more with no degree than pursue careers that require a college degree but may pay less? And the response that I got was astounding, but it made sense. And this professional said, there is so much money and opportunities out here in the world that one way for one person isn't the best way for another person. People are getting rich without having to go into debt with a higher education institution. What do you think, Dr. Ellison?
I can definitely agree with that. And I understand the thought process behind that. And I also see a lot of people that are under mental anguish and mental exhaustion because they are going into career fields specifically for the pay. Now, it is a cost of being a boss. And sometimes people are going into these fields seeking these high paying jobs and they may not realize what all comes with that. You may not be able to have a work-life balance or some of the other things that you think that would come along with having these high paying jobs. You may have to travel and leave your families. You maybe have high stress, or truth be told, you may go into a field that you don't even like. And so I think that there's a lot more things that need to be thought about besides just the paycheck. And, you know, especially when you are younger, sometimes we're just thinking about the paycheck and not really lifelong. Is this something that I want to do? Because regardless of whether you are taking a job just for the money and the salary and you don't really care what position it is, you do have to be thinking long term, because regardless of the fact, you can't just go into a job and sit there stagnant. You are going to have to continue to upskill and to level up. Nobody is going to allow you to just sit there stagnant and just to collect this pay, because just like we're telling you right now, things do change over time and you have to have a strategy. And so that's what I would say about that, that it just because something sounds good in the short term, we're always encouraging you to go into things with a strategic mindset, because a police supervisor or something like that may sound good now until you're getting shot at. And so is that something that you see yourself doing for the next 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years, Dr. Burks?
Weigh your risks and your benefits. What do you gain from it? And what will you lose because of it? Like Dr. Ellison said, it's nice to have a police chief title, but are you willing to work and pursue the risk that's involved? It's nice to sit behind a desk and stand behind a podium and address issues, but are you willing to go out in the field and get your hands dirty? And everybody may not. Dr. Ellison, people are out here and don't know what a 401k is. They have no clue what retirement is. When I do orientation, and we talk about retirement, and they don't know what it is. And then when I explain it and I have to say, so we're going to deduct this amount from your paycheck, then they are no longer interested. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes. And one of the other things I liked about this article, and I'm just going to pull this other graphic up here. I believe I had it up briefly earlier. And another thing that the author did, and we also did this before, and I'm going to encourage you again to go back and watch some of our older videos, because what is happening now, like we told you before, this is nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun. The economy, what is going on in the government, what is going on internationally, there is nothing new under the sun. And the author went back to 2024 and pulled up some of the top paying jobs that do not require a college degree. But let's not be confused that just because something doesn't require a 2 or a 4-year degree or a master's degree doesn't mean that it doesn't require a high degree of skill or intellect or dedication, or, you know, a high degree of you sitting under somebody in an apprenticeship. But these are some of the top paying jobs, some of them over 6 figures, that do not require a college degree. And I really do like that the author went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Department of Labor, and they actually pulled this out. And so just for your reference, that is where this information is coming from. And this was the latest of 2024. Of course, things have changed since we have had a change in administration, and we are right now a nation that is at conflict with another nation. So things have changed slightly. But one thing that is important to definitely notice here is that most of these jobs on here are tied to operating, maintaining, managing, or securing critical infrastructure. And what does that mean for you? That means that you cannot offshore these types of jobs. And this is something that Dr. Burks and I have been yelling at the top of our lungs. AI cannot easily replace many of the jobs that are on this list. And the country still needs people who can physically perform these jobs, which means that there is a place for people that work administrative and white collar jobs, but there is always going to be a place for those people who can physically perform jobs like this. What do you think about this, Dr. Burks?
I'm thinking that if we didn't have the professional consultancy, that I may need to change my career. Just looking at what is this, the nuclear power reactor? Um, who would think, you hear nuclear and I automatically think like this is something you need to go to school for, and this requires a bunch of training. But like we've talked about before, professionals, just because it, like Dr. Ellison said, just because it doesn't require a degree, there are some learning curves that come with not having a degree. And like we've talked about in nauseum before, having a degree sometimes offsets some of those years of experience. So there are pros to having a degree, but the reason, or the point of pointing this out, like Dr. Ellison said, is because you can obtain these positions. It just may require a little more work. And like Dr. Ellison said, there are people who are choosing to walk away from things that they love to pursue a more profitable career. And so imagine that there are people who are operating within these roles where this isn't their passion. And we've talked about calling and intrinsic passion before, and plenty of videos. Feel free to go through our library and watch. But this is serious, and it doesn't, people are taking this lightly, but there are people who are literally choosing to do something they don't love and sometimes don't like to put food on the table. Dr. Ellison, please help us.
Yeah, and I think it's important to acknowledge that what is really happening is that people feel like they're being lied to. That's the real thing. And the question, as Dr. Burks and I are consulting, that we hear the most often is that, well, if they say that they're adding these jobs, why does it seem like everybody is getting laid off? And that's the rub. It feels like you're being lied to. Oh, well, we just added 50,000 jobs, and then you turn around and you turn on, one of your favorite news networks, and it's like such and such company just laid off 5,000 people, 8,000 people, 10,000 people. And what is happening is that the white collar sectors are seeing waves of layoffs, and this has been happening for the last like 7 or 8 years. Layoffs in technology, layoffs in consulting, layoffs in finance, layoffs in recruiting, layoffs in administrative support, like we have been talking about. And why is that? That is that AI factor. That is that tech bubble that we talked about in our last video, which we encourage you to watch. And employers are increasingly using artificial intelligence to automate certain routine tasks, especially that entry-level information work, to generate reports, do certain types of analysis and scheduling and customer service and research, support and things like that. There are many jobs that still exist out there, but the type of jobs that is available is continuously changing. And that is why Dr. Burks and I are telling you that as much as we want to get to the bag and the jobs that pay six figures, you really need to figure out what it is that you want to do. Make sure that you are highly skilled at doing that. And I would encourage you to have a couple of things that you are good at doing, because not only do Dr. Burks and I consult, she is an expert and a specialist at HR. She can do consulting, she can do recruiting, she can do acquisition. She does all types of things outside of us doing consulting, and so do I. And so you have to have a couple of tools in your tool bag. You have to have more than one, because when the market shifts, when things change, you may have to go back to doing something else. And that's another reality check that we need to have, because there are going to be ebbs and flows. Things are going to change. And if you were once in scheduling or doing analysis or something like that, and it switches, guess what? I try to make sure that I maintain wellness and health. If I got to go back outside and do some stuff, I could get outside and get it. And so that's the mindset that we have to have. I am not above being outside sweating. And so we just have to have that mindset that we don't get stuck in one type of way of working, and really look at the market that you're in. Is this something that technology may eventually take over? Am I doing something that a computer can do? And if so, don't wait for it to happen. Start to shift that now. What do you think about that, Dr. Burks?
I'm just going to say, so we're talking about these jobs that are being promoted but are not being found. What they're not telling you is that A lot of these jobs are being created and promoted externally, but they're only pursuing internal hires. So they typically, a lot of organizations that I've worked in will have a policy where they have to promote the job internally first for, let's say, 3 business days, and then they'll promote it externally to make it look fair and to make it look like there have been opportunities given. But a lot of times they've already secured their candidate. They just didn't make it official. So that's something that, professionals, and if you don't believe me, a simple Google search can give you a lot of the information that I provided. But aside from this, there are a lot of consultants, like Dr. Ellison said, who still have full-time jobs, because this isn't even something that they can fall back on if they don't acquire the proper clientele, or if their business does not produce results, or if there isn't a need necessarily for what they are putting out there. Dr. Ellison and I are so holistic in the things that we can provide to you. We can be a one-stop shop, not to toot our own horn, but it's deserved. When you right, you right. But the other piece, if I may add, about these layoffs. So I have a group of professionals that I know, who work for various healthcare organizations, very prominent and profitable healthcare organizations, who have been doing mass layoffs for years and are projected to do mass layoffs through 2030. So instead, they're in this place where it's like, should I look for another job, or should I wait it out and see if it'll be my turn eventually? Professionals, there are organizations that are allowing people to apply for a layoff. So they are making it easier so they don't have to sit in limbo. And so one would say, well, why would I apply to be laid off? It's because these professionals are finding it a lot more, I don't want to say a lot, it's providing more security, but it's a lot easier knowing that this is what's going to happen and this is the severance package that they're going to prepare for me, than to sit in limbo and never know when their time may come. So could you imagine working in an organization for multiple years, dedicating all of this time, but then having to sit through and witness peers who have had more time vetted or vested in the company, or people who are new? And a lot of times when they're doing layoffs, it's typically the last to come, the first to leave. And they're opting to just go ahead and remove themselves so that they know whatever this severance period they'll have to go through, they'll go with that because it gives them more security and sanity. What do you think, Dr. Ellison?
I think there is a lot to chew on. I think there is a lot to chew on. But I really like what you said about learning apprenticeship, because there is something that most Americans don't know. Please, professionals, watch the video that we did, even though it is a little bit dated. It's maybe about 6 or 7 months old. The information in that video is still pretty relevant and current. Watch the Job Corps video, because apprenticeship programs, despite them kind of dismantling that Job Corps program, apprenticeship programs are still expanding. And apprenticeships earn while they learn. What does that mean? There are some apprenticeship programs where you can make money while you are working. You're basically just learning. It's kind of on the job training. You're kind of learning while you are working. And a lot of people like those. I did an apprenticeship. You avoid large amount of student debt. What will I tell you about student debt? If you do not invest in yourself, who is going to do it? I am a lifelong learner. And if there is a skill that I want and I can feel like I can pay it off, or there's a way that I can pay it off, then I am going to invest in myself, because like we told you, the tide will turn. This is just a period that we're in, and things are going to turn back around. And who knows, you will have gotten yourself an education or a skill, and then something might pop off. You never know. But one thing that I am going to do, I am always going to invest in myself. And for some people, that means taking out a student debt. But to each his own. I would just say, look at what it is that you are trying to do. But when it comes to apprenticeship, they help you to gain real world experience immediately. So you may not be a young person that can use Job Corps, but if you go to the Department of Labor, they still have an active link to apprenticeship programs, and you can pick on the map and go by state and see what apprenticeship programs they have available in your state or in an adjacent state. And why do employers love apprenticeship programs? Because the companies get talent. They get to train you on the job and see what you're like, what they do. Workers get skills. Everyone gets a clear return on their investment. The company does, you do. And industries love apprenticeships. Why? Because, companies like construction, manufacturing, utilities, transportation, cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, and just like Dr. Burke said, health care. There are healthcare apprenticeship, and that was one of the few fields that actually had jobs added to it this year. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics is actually predicting growth across numerous skilled trade occupations that don't require a bachelor's degree. And so you can take that with a grain of salt. That is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but it's better to have the skill and need it than not have the skill and they're looking for the skill and you don't have it. So I would just encourage you to look at those apprenticeships, because at least that is something that can get you started in the event that you still want to get a college education. Because in my opinion, you can never know enough. There's not a way that you cannot learn enough. Dr. Burks?
On the contrary, professionals, yes, the apprenticeships and the internships, like all of that stuff is beneficial. And like Dr. Ellison said, ROI is very important on both sides. And organizations really, really love it too, because they get to groom you to be the ideal professional for that role. And so, yes, it gives you the exposure. And then on the contrary, the business gets a chance to take the talent that they have in front of them and fine tune it to fit into whatever role, if opportunity is provided after the apprenticeship or internship ends, to fit into whatever is available. But I will also say your loyalty is to yourself. Whatever opportunity is going to be in the best interest of you and your personal situation or your familial situation, make sure you go with that, because the business will be loyal to the business first. So don't feel guilty. But Dr. Ellison, my question is, well, we're saying that these people are not choosing to pursue higher education because they don't want to go into debt. And then there, as we showed, are fields that don't require more than just experience or maybe a trade certificate, right? But what about the colleges that are saying the opposite? I read an article by the University of, I think it's Olivet, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, and it's titled, "Do I Really Need a College Degree to Be Successful?" So going through the entire article, it reads a little differently than the article that Dr. Ellison presented, but the key takeaways that they mentioned involved higher employment rate and different wage premiums and financial aid availability to help you afford these degrees, and then career opportunities. Now, my question to you, Dr. Ellison, is if you were a new, fresh out of high school individual and you came across the article that you initially presented and the article that I am talking about, how, especially since this is coming from a higher education facility, like, what would you think? Would you, like, I can only imagine how someone who is new in their profession, how this would, cause conflict. But you, Dr. Ellison, what would you do if you have a university telling you you're going to make more money? You're going to have more employment opportunities. Oh, I know you can go into debt, but we can help you with that. And when you graduate, the world is yours. What do you think? What would you think about that?
I think you're presenting a very challenging question, because when we're young, if we don't have the right community around us, we may not have the wisdom to make a sound, a timely, nor a wise decision. And it just reminds me of a scripture I read recently. I was reading the book of Exodus, and this is chapter 35, verse 33. And it says, "He is skilled in engraving and mounting gemstones and in carving wood. He is a master at every craft." And God puts his spirit in us. And it says he is a master at every craft. And that requires us to know, first of all, that we have the Spirit of God with us. And then secondly, what does it take for us to master our craft? And a lot of times when we're young like that, we don't even know what craft we're trying to go into, let alone how to make a wise decision like that. But I think the more knowledge you have, the more wisdom you have, the more learning you have, the school is right, the more opportunities that you are probably going to have. But I do think that is why Be Professional is important. I think that's why having a community, a diverse community of elders and people around you with experience is important. Do you have to have a college degree to be successful in life? No, you don't. But it all depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, what did God tell you to do, and what is it going to take for you to master your craft? Because there is no one-stop shop. We never stop learning. We're always going to be learning. We're always going to be growing. And some of that learning and growing is expensive. Sometimes it is going to cost us something. Sometimes it is going to cost us a sacrifice a couple of hours of sleep. Sometimes it is going to require us to sacrifice some finances. Sometimes it is going to require that we sacrifice, maybe we can't go out on a weekend. But in order for us to be a master at something, what is it that we're going to sacrifice? And for some of us, that is college debt. But that is where that wisdom comes in. And sometimes when we're young, like how you and I were and how we have talked about, sometimes we don't have that wisdom, nor did we really have that community hug that could have helped us make the most wise decision. Dr. Burks.
Let me give it to you in a more practical way. So for our professionals where this conversation may not be as relevant. So let's say we know that the interest rates on vehicles right now are crazy. Even if you have an 800 credit score for a vehicle that is about $40,000, that could be a $1,000 a month payment. If you don't believe me, check my sources. Get on Google. That's all I'll say. Now, you can afford this, right? You want this brand new, fully loaded leather seats truck or SUV or SUV, I'm sorry. And you want it to have self-driving. I mean, all of these amenities, not because you need them, it's just nice to have. But then you have a vehicle that may not have all of these amenities, same type of vehicle, just not, the same tier. And instead of paying $1,000 a month, you pay, let's say, $900 a month. My question is, what's your non-negotiable? Is this it's nice to have, or would this just be no, I have to have it? So what do you want your pockets to look like for the month? Do you want to save $100, or are you okay with losing $100? And that may not be a good analogy for some, especially if you don't drive, but it goes to show you these are real life decisions that you have to make. Are you willing to go into a little bit of debt so that you can make a little more money, so you can acquire the nicer house or live in the nicer area? You have to make these decisions daily. We're talking about education right now, but as a professional, you have to move with wisdom in every decision that you make. This is just a simple example that I'm offering you. But professionals, like Dr. Ellison said, and Dr. Ellison, that's so funny because I was reading Exodus yesterday and I got to the part where, the Israelites got upset because it took Moses a little bit of time to come down from the mountain. And then they said, well, we need a God. Even though God had already revealed himself and showed them, and they couldn't wait. They weren't patient. And so they made a rash decision, which upset him. And read your word, professionals, read your word. But you can't afford to make rash decisions in this economy. You have to be intentional. And as unfortunate as it is for some people, especially our young professionals who are coming out of high school, or who, are professionals that have chosen to, do a change in their field, or who have chosen to go to school. Dr. Ellison and I were unconventional students. We didn't sit in an institution every day. We weren't going to classes after work. And so our sacrifice required a lot more. We had to have a lot more discipline. We had to do a lot more self-led work than the average student who sat in a higher education facility. But we were willing to take that on because the outcome was a reward that we felt justified the sacrifice while we were in school. And let's also, Dr. Ellison, before I hand it back over, I'm not trying to be long-winded professionals, but let's also keep in mind, there are also consultants out here who are not doctors. There are people who just like giving information. These people have no qualifications, okay? They just like to talk. And all you need is to be able to have a certain gift of gab and speak to an audience that will be willing to entertain what you are talking about. And they thrive, allegedly. But be mindful of who you listen to. Didn't we talk about that before, Dr. Ellison? Because nobody is what?
Nobody is coming to save you.
They're not. That's all. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Ellison.
Well, we did promise you some takeaways that you can actually apply today. Now, do you want to give yours first, or do you want me to go first, Dr. Burks?
You go first.
All right. So these are some things that you can actually do today. Now, this is from your business strategist and leadership expert. Number one, conduct a career security audit. So ask yourself this, professionals. Can AI automate 80% of my daily work? Yes or no? If it is yes, if yes is the answer to your question, begin upskilling right now. Do not wait for a layoff notice. Don't wait for them to hem haw, do any type of evaluation on you. Look at the daily work that you do and ask yourself, can AI do any of this? If the answer is yes, I would begin upskilling as soon as you get to work. Start figuring out how you can upskill. And we actually have a video about upskilling. Number two, follow the demand and not prestige. I just showed you a list of jobs that is 6 figures, high 5 figure jobs. Stop chasing job titles. Chase what is currently in demand and ask yourself this question. What problems are employers desperately trying to solve right now? And if you look at that list, as I told you, those are a list of jobs that AI cannot do. Okay. So if you are trying to get a title, if you are trying to get a special parking spot and your name on the door, I would just tell you, figure out what it is that you are trying to do. The best way to make yourself value added to anywhere that you want to work, anything you want to do, solve a problem, be a solution, not just collect a paycheck. And last but not least, from me, number three, build multiple streams of income. Get you a certification, get you a side business. If you are highly skilled in something and you can't do it full time, start consulting someone. Be a freelancer. There are people that do hair and nails and eyelashes on the side. If you are highly skilled at it, start teaching or get a skilled trade specialization in something. There are people that work on cars on the weekends or they know how to lay a roof. Like if you can do something else besides your 9 to 5 or whatever it is that you do, if you can build multiple streams of income, I already told you, I will be outside. I will be at this desk in a business suit and then I will go outside. Okay. I don't have an issue doing that. And then economic resilience beats economic prediction every time. We have to be resilient in this day and age. So we could sit here and look at all the news reports and what are they predicting? Is it going to be an AI bubble, a tech bubble? I don't know. I don't care. I'm not waiting for their prediction because I'm just going to be preparing myself and I am going to be resilient. And those are some things that you can actually do today. You could do it right now because the real question isn't, should everybody skip college? The real question is, what is the smartest path for you and your situation, right? The answer is not, do you need an apprenticeship? Do you need to go to the military? Do you need a skilled trade? Is entrepreneurship the track for you? You do not need to put your trust in the economy, in a politician, in technology. You put your faith and your hope and your trust in God. Then you develop the skills, the discipline, the character, and the adaptability that you need to serve people well. And those are some takeaways from your personal business and leadership strategist that you can actually use today, Dr. Burks.
Today, go into a point that you made real quick because she left no crumbs for me to pick up and give to you. Mechanics are not working in auto body shops. They are coming to you. They are bringing their tools and going to your vehicle in a parking space and offering as many services as they can provide with your vehicle right there. Now, they may not be able to balance tires, but they can rotate them. They can do oil changes. They have literally personalized their services to accommodate the market in which they need to reach. And so, with that, the other piece that I would like to add, using that as an example, stop waiting for them to come to you and go to them. These jobs, like I know on LinkedIn, they give you the option to apply or to mark that you are open for work. That does not mean that these recruiters are going to find you. You are simply showing that I'm open, and just, in the event a recruiter stops by and they see, they may reach out. But recruiters aren't doing passive recruitment like they used to. And I did recruitment for years, so I'm not speaking on what I think, I'm talking about what I know. And so a way that you can go to them instead of waiting for them to come to you, some tips that I have. Look at how frequently this position is posted. Do you see this job posted? Is it coming up in your feed every other month? Does it look like there is high turnover? Glassdoor exists. I don't know how accurate it always is, but it is definitely like the Google and Yelp of jobs. Compare the requirements for, let's say you have I'll use HR. Let's say there's an HR business partner position for one organization that has a list of requirements. They want you to be PHR or SHRM, or they want you to have this many years of experience on top of this degree. And this may be a mid-level position, whereas their competitor across the street is okay with you just giving them ample years of experience. If you have these things, that is a plus, but it is not a requirement. And that is a senior level role. Which one is more important to you? Like Dr. Ellison said, do you want the parking space and the job title? Or do you want the exposure? Do you want to be able to walk around and say, I am a professional senior level employee? Or do you want to say, I'm a business partner too. I don't have anybody that reports to me, but I'm in the room. I'm okay with it. So you need to vet. Same job title, different requirements. And so I know that may not hit home for a lot of people, but trust me, open up Indeed, open up LinkedIn, and look at the different industries, the different job titles, and I guarantee you, you will constantly see significant differences in what they are asking for. Do not blindly apply for these jobs and then learn later when you get a phone interview and they're asking you why them and you have no clue because you just mass applied. You have to add strategy. This is not the season to just do it. You have to have a reason behind it and a backup plan in the event it does not work out. Professionals, we are legitimately living in times that look different day by day. The article that Dr. Ellison presented was written yesterday. The article for the university that I mentioned was just written June 29th. Let that marinate. Let that settle in. So there's always going to be something that is opposing, but it is up to you to vet and to go with what you feel is going to be the best for you. And like my professional, Dr. Ellison's fellow veteran said, what works for one does not work for all. And so you have to do what is going to be best for you, short term, intermittently, and long term. That's all I got, Dr. Ellison.
Well, we thank you for tuning in to Be Professional Consultancy. We hope that this video helped you. We are always praying for you. We encourage you. We are here to be a solution to your problems. What else do you want to know? Because there is a lot going on in the chat, and there are people that are going to try to prey on the distrust and the emotional state that people are in with all of these layoffs and things like that. How can we help you? How can we better serve you? Let us know in the comments. Know that you are prayed for. We encourage you. We encourage you to go be an encouragement to somebody else. And as always, be professional.